Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. I know I broke my promise a little bit. It's been 8 days since my last upload. Work has been absolutely killer and I needed to get out and see the new rifle I picked up. So sometimes some other life priorities. But trust me, the wait is well worth it. I have a fantastic game. These are a few games that I played in the last few days. I was having trouble getting a good Marath game. And I think I have delivered. Vane Gretzky has graciously, although he didn't agree to it, agreed to play Baral against a competitive Baral list against my competitive Marath list. And I think you'll be pleasantly surprised by how this game goes. So, all right. So I win the first die roll. All right, jump through the first opening hand. So the first opening hand was Jeweled Amulet, Ancient Tomb, and it had like two of the best lock pieces, I think, against him. I think it was Thalia, Ancient Tomb, Jeweled Amulet, Utopia Sprawl. Like if I had a basic forest in that hand, it just goes off. But unfortunately, the hand was totally lacking colored mana, and I was so reliant on top deck forest, and the fact that I was on the play means I don't get it on turn one. I just had to ship it back. Then I see this, which is maybe a duel or a fetch away from being keepable. Because if I can turn one fetch off Enlighten Tutor, fetch, get Enlighten Tutor, slam Teague, put maybe a sword on Teague, I might be in decent shape. But I decided to ship this back as well. Going down to 5 against a Baral that keeps 7 and gets the first draw of the game. And I see this hand. All right. Thorn of Amethyst and Thalia, two of the better lock pieces against Baral. Glenvala could be relevant, not really, I don't think, because they don't really play any activated abilities, but it is a 3/4 flyer and pod, so a very late game strategy, but I have the pod. This hand was kept purely on the fact that I have a land and 2 lock pieces, and I don't think a 4-card hand gets better than this. So we're definitely under the back foot. I see Utopia Sprawl on top, and I'm torn here. Do I keep the Sprawl, name white, and try to get a turn 2 Thalia, or turn 3 Thalia? Because remember, I'll draw this on turn 2. And I'm purposely putting myself off potential land on turn 2 just so I can guarantee that I get the Sprawl. Or do I ship this and try to gamble for a land? I decide that I want to take the guaranteed mana, even if it's a little bit slower. Because Baral's going to come out of the gate. If he comes out on turn 2, he'll have turn 3 Polymorph. I'll have turn 3 Thalia right before that to slow him down, or turn 3 Thorn. I think I'm going to go with Thorn first because Thalia is more easily removed. He needs specifically bounce effects for Thorn. This can be removed by a variety of effects. So Thorn's probably going to be my first play out. And I decide I'm going to keep that Utopia Sprawl on top. All right, let's jump through. Taiga, Command Tower. All right. First of all, Command Tower monocolor deck, what are you doing, man? Like, you can't daze me now. I know you don't have daze in your opening hand because you would have led Island. This seems really strange in a Brawl list. But, I mean, I guess you don't get blown out by choke? I don't know. Like, so I'm going to Utopia Sprawl, name white, because I need the white for this Thalia. Also, I'm not giving away information by naming white here because it's my 3rd color. It just makes sense that I would name white here so I can go red, white, or green, white. He, on cue, goes turn 2 Baral. All right, Gretzky. I pick up Weathered Wayfarer. Interesting. So I really don't want to run into turn 3 Polymorph, so I just have to play a Thorn piece here. I would have loved to draw, get a land next turn. If I get any white source, I can go Thalia and then Weathered Wayfarer with Thorn and Thalia protecting the Wayfarer cast. And then I should be in great shape. He's made 2 land drops already. Or his 3rd land drop now. So Wayfarer would just give me the game, I think. Pick up a Null Rod. Not what I wanted here. Now because I have Pod in my hand, I don't think Null Rod's going to be a game plan here. I play Thalia. He's got the Spell Snare, unfortunately, and lets him Baral loot. And stymied again. All right, Peer Through Depths. I believe he finds Squelch. Yeah, Squelch. Counter target activated ability. Draw a card. Fine by me. Not worried about it. We'll keep Squelch in mind for later. My opponent misses a land drop. Thank God. If he had land drop Polymorph, I just lose there. So I get Elvish Mystic. Probably one of my better top decks here. So that's exactly what I need to go Elvish Mystic and Weathered Wayfarer. Something to develop my mana base and something to help me develop my mana base in future turns after he squelches it the first time. But 2 different mana base threats, both 1-drops. Fantastic. He lets the Mystic through and the Wayfarer. And really interestingly here, my opponent repeals the Mystic instead of the Wayfarer. And I guess because this is a more guaranteed source of mana they can't interact with, he's probably thinking he can squelch the Wayfarer once, get some tempo. I guess that's his plan, because it gives him an out for this squelch, because it doesn't look to him like I'll ever be playing Marath. I imagine he took it because I have Marath as my commander. But, or maybe it was the only option, might as well get any card. So, alright, gets his land drop, and he needles my Wayfarer. Now I know why he bounced the Mystic. He had a needle to deal with the Wayfarer. Makes a lot more sense. And he gushes, inexplicably gushes here. I guess this is just in case I have removal for the Pithing Needle, but I would need land drop plus Nature's Claim, or what's the new 1-mana one that kills CMC 3 or less? Back to Nature? No, that's the enchantment one. There's a new one. Natural State, I guess. I would need land plus Natural State in my hand, or 1 and 1 on the top to be able to deal with this and activate Wayfarer this turn because I have the Thorn in play. I don't know about this whole gush into protecting from Wayfarer a little bit, or protecting from Wayfarer more than once. This seems really bad to me, especially when you're underneath a Thorn. And my opponent isn't making a play here, so they're gushing back 2 lands, but then now they're discarding 2 cards. I don't understand this at all. I pick up Scooze, and I decide that I care more about developing the mana base. And I don't know if my opponent's going to counter. He's just going to remand me. Alright, well, he time-walked me. That is actual time-walk against where I am. I'm going to get in for 1. This lets me F2 my opponent's turn, and it's not going to ask me to block no matter what. Save a little bit of my clock, because I'm not really bluffing anything. Temple Garden off the top. Man, this could only be better if it was a Savannah, but I'm not really in an aggro matchup. My life doesn't matter. I lose when I lose the game, not when I lose all my life. The winner or loser will be determined far before I am at 0. And I get to go Elvish Mystic into Scooze. Fantastic. And I crash in with Wayfarer. My opponent cycles an Una's Grace to draw a card for 4 mana. Seems greedy. Maybe he gushed just because he didn't have any land drops, but still, you would think that means you want to gush the following turn, so that way you can immediately replay one of the 2 lands. I don't think my opponent's very versed in gush, and he should be talking to Steve Menendian a little bit more, or at least read the book. Alright, so I pick up Sylvan Library. Very, very tempting here. Now keep in mind, Library costs 3, meaning I could only do one other thing this turn. I could either Slam Pod and not activate it. I could put Linvala into play with nothing. I could activate Play Null Rod for 3, doesn't really do much. Play Library, or I can pump Scooze. So I'm going to crash in and see if he eagerly blocks, thinking Squelch will save him. Because I will absolutely waste 2 mana to kill Baral. My opponent blocks. He's discarded Alhamret High Arbiter earlier in the game. I'm just going to eat that out of your yard, boss. Thank you for the free kill. So he squelches in response, so he can't draw like something else, like some Trick Bind or something. I'm going to grow Scavenging Ooze, or I don't know. They're better to play around the unknown. I don't know what the possible draw that he could draw is, but I'm going to activate him again in response. And kill the Baral. Seems good. Then I try to cast Sylvan into my Thorn, so a little bit of a misplay. Maybe I'm bluffing my opponent something. I don't know. 4 mana, plays the Baral back out. So immediately he realizes his mistake, and it almost looks like I set this up. You can't make this any better. Look at my top deck. You want to guess it? So, sorry, I'm going to eat Una's Grace out of the yard so he can't get value off that by retracing it. Boom. Choke. What a top deck. After tapping all 4 of his islands to replay Baral, I get Choke. Alright. So let's do a little bit of shenanigans, see if he's going to interact with me in some way. No? Alright. Don't want to tap that mana. Let's see. Can I have a 4 mana Choke? Clank. Oh, God. Feels good. Feels better than Winter Orb in this situation. One-sided Winter Orb. Feels so good. So he taps, untaps, realizes his mistake, that it won't untap afterwards. I pick up a Forest. I'll slam that Forest into play after I attack. get a forest, and I decide to pod here. Because Wayfarer is not really doing anything for me, I have a specific 2-drop in mind that I want to pod into. My opponent pays some life, and he does nothing in response. Can you guess what the 2-drop is? Here's the deck for anyone who's still wondering. I'll go over to the thing afterwards. There's one spicy 2-drop right here, Gaddock Teague. This says no to that polymorph that you're trying to save up for. He has the Into the Royal on choke. All right, fair play, fair play. But you are underneath Gaddock Teague now. And this is really where Marath shines. I'm trading one lock piece for another lock piece over and over again. But now I have Birthing Pod in play, and he has to prioritize Teague and the fact that I can slam choke if he ever taps beneath counter magic. So he's got Thought Odell. I pick up the Nature's Claim that I was talking about earlier. Not really worried about it. Pithing Needle can sit there forever, all I care. I'll save that for something relevant. I'll crash in. He doesn't want to trade Baral this time. Interesting. So I think about it for a sec, and I decide that I have to remove Baral. And if I remove Baral first, he loses his discount, and Thorn actually affects him. Instead of him having to pay the normal, he has to pay one more than the spell. So I'm going to remove Baral first and get rid of my Clock and Scavenging Ooze. Because I need to get Baral off the table, I go for Fiend Hunter to remove Baral, and just like magic, it goes back to his command zone instead, allowing me to pod Fiend Hunter next turn into whatever I want. Now I'll try to slam the choke, and he's got the negate. 3 mana negate. Pretty good. Alright, so he's got me there. I lost the choke. Oh no. And my opponent taps 6 back into Baral. Alright, we're playing the mana game here. And I think I'm winning, actually. Alright, so pick up Earthcraft. Fantastic draw here. And I math it out a little bit. And because I have Teague and Fiend Hunter to make mana off this Earthcraft only cost me effectively 1 mana. The one that Thorn would be. So I'm going to untap Forest, float green, untap Forest, float green. 3, play Sylvan. And that leaves me exactly 1 left to be able to pod. Activate pod first, pay the life, then the green. Pod Fiend Hunter into Brea's favorite 4-drop human companion, Palace Jailer, on Baral. Alright, goodbye Baral, one more time. I'll take the Monarch, I'll get more draws. So now I have 2 draw outlets in play, Sylvan and the Monarch, and it's so hard for him to take it back. I think he doesn't think that I'm going to trade the Jailer. I absolutely will not give you the Monarch, will not give you an artifact out of my deck. Thank you very much. Gonna play an 8 mana Baral. Yes, you are. And this is where my deck shines and the Baral deck falls apart. I've made him spend so much mana over the course of this game on Baral that even though I've been a little bit short on mana, I've been able to cast more spells to affect the game state because he's been recasting his commander. Or I say cast spells, put more spells into play. So I don't want that Forest because I have this Wood of Foothills to shuffle, Lotus Cobra to get some value. Feels pretty good. And I play out the Lotus Cobra off the fixed green manas. Fetch, get the Savannah. It's the best dual land in the deck because most of the deck is green-white. It's only a red splash. And I'm going to use the Lotus Cobra to untap the Forest. So Lotus Cobra cost me 2 mana and made 3 mana that turn. Pretty sweet. So Lotus Cobra was a Lotus Petal or a free Birthing Pod for 3. Sounds good. Look who just tapped all of their islands. This guy, Vane Gretzky, did. I'm going to get Eternal Witness, target choke into his concession. And he realizes his mistake. He let Pod go and scoops the game. On to game 2. We talked a bit in the chat. It might pop up. I don't know. I guess it won't. Interesting. All right. We talked a little bit in the chat about the game and how we hate that WotC refuses to allow us to click the submit button. All right, so I see a very tempting opening, and I decide to keep it. I Bloodstained Mire for a Plateau, and I can Tithe, play the Jeweled Amulet into turn 2 Thalia. I can play this into trying to get the Lotus Cobra online, but very, very decent keep. I'm going to go for it. And let's close that. Stop doing that. Get Weathered Wayfarer. Much better turn 1 play than Tithe. Here, deal with this, control deck. Beat that. Baral, fine by me. I'm going to top deck Temple Garden like a champ. I decided not to use the Wayfarer yet because I want to put Thalia down. Thalia is more important than getting Wayfarer. Fortunately, I encounter a bug here, and I really wish WotC would fix this because I encountered this bug 4 months back and reported it, I believe, right, or maybe 3 months back. I think it was right as 1v1 leagues were starting up. So you'll see what I do with Weathered Wayfarer. I get Cavern, and you'll see me tapping and untapping a lot. I'm aware of the clock for this game now, and I know that I have to finish this match as soon as can. So I name Advisor, Gaddock Teague, Kithkin Advisor. You saw that I floated green-white. It will not let me cast, no matter how many times. I've tried clicking Gaddock Teague before I had mana floating, and then paying mana. I tried paying alternate colors for Gaddock Teague, green off this, white off this. There is no way that Cavern of Souls is letting me cast Gaddock Teague, and I do not know why. Should I have named Kithkin? Does it not count the secondary creature type? What is this? Why is this a bug? I named Advisor because I believe there's other advisors in this deck, or it's a better chance that there's other advisors than other Kithkins. I didn't bother bringing up the deck list because I know that time is a factor for me. So I'm going to click through all of this. I'm going to shortcut it by jumping the turn. I end up casting Lotus Cobra into Deprive. He bounces an island to take himself out of Weathered Wayfarer range, and then cycles a Censor to draw a card. So I do not know why this is a bug, and I mentioned it in the chat. It's not letting me cast Teague from a hand. And then I asked him about the command tower. So very interesting bug. WotC, fix your damn products. Alright, he's going to portent me, look at the top 3 cards in my library, put one on top. Some card he assumes I won't be able to cast the entire game. Alright, I try to cast Teague again, see if it was just a turn issue. It's not going to let me. Alright, so I'm going to ship it back with full intention of charging the Jeweled Amulet here and tithing. This also puts him to 4, so I can tithe plus Weathered Wayfarer plus charge. Oh no, I can only do 2 of those. And I think I choose the charge plus tithe because that's the most mana efficient. Yeah, because I have to pay the extra 1 for, yeah. So we think twices in response to tithe, fine. I'm going to get Savannah and Plains, and I get the Plains because if I get Earthcraft, I want a basic to be able to target with it. Because you always want to have at least 1 basic of anything in the deck in play, so that way you have something to charge. I charge red, or untap with Earthcraft. I charge red because it's the color that I have least access to right now. Pick up Avacyn's Pilgrim, and now I'm going to Wayfarer on my turn to get Ancient Tomb, to get out of this mana hole. So I'm going to Ancient Tomb in, I believe, Tanglewire here. Yeah, I play Tanglewire, and I played off the Jeweled Amulet because I want to play Avacyn's Pilgrim here, and Tanglewire, Jeweled Amulet, and Thalia will be my 3 taps the first turn that I untap with it. And that'll give me plenty of mana to be able to control this game. He Una's Graces in response to Tanglewire, doesn't understand how it works, I guess, and taps his whole board out. My opponent plays a Sleight of Hand, and now that he's tapped out, I am only afraid of exactly Force of Will or exactly Daze. I can play around one of those. So, I feel pretty good now. Tanglewire, tap the 3 that I mentioned, pick up a Mountain, pretty sweet. So now I have 2 of my 3 basics. I decided to get Command Tower, though, to make sure that I can hit my colors. Slam Marath, and he doesn't counter it, and that means I get to kill Baral right here and make the wire that much more of a hold on him. I will trade my commander for your commander. Mine gets better as I cast it more. Yours gets worse. Tanglewire, tap the 2 useless things. And this is the real strength of Tanglewire. It gets to tap itself, and it doesn't turn off. It's not a mono artifact from days of old, and the stack shenanigans are real, especially with that entire block. I tap on my mana to make sure I have enough. I go for Gyre Sage into Marath, and he unsubstantiates Marath. Fine. All right. Crash in. Tap mana. He goes for Pithing Needle. I believe he names Marath this time. Yep, names Marath. Weathered Wayfarer has done its damage. It's already got me so many lands. There's no sense in naming Wayfarer here, and I agree with him. Can't name the Tanglewire, so I'll tap it to itself. So I activate Wayfarer. I get Kessig Wolfrun to make an increased clock because I am aware that I'm at 752 to his 806. He is playing a much slower now because he has to try to navigate this minefield. He knows I have Gaddock Teague in hand because I mentioned it in chat. He knows I have Sword of Fire and Ice because that's what he put on top of the deck. He knows I have Marath, so I've got 3 dangerous threats that he has to be aware of. I'm just making a 4th threat. And this is a great threat because any creature I have suddenly becomes a huge, huge danger. And that's why I choose that. And I decide to tap everything except one here because I want to charge this Jeweled Amulet. Now that it's free from the Tangle Wire, I pitch the Mana Confluence. I don't really need it. My opponent has 7 mana, so I know he does not have Cyclonic Rift because he would need 1 more mana this turn. I forget to charge, of course, like a Scrub. Small misplays. Small misplays like that can add up, but thankfully I'm not punished for it. He taps a ton of mana. I think he uses the full 5 to bounce Thalia. Yeah, he uses 5 of his 7 there to bounce Thalia in combat, which seems crazy to me. I think he was trying to bait Kessig Wolf Run. Then when he saw that I wasn't going to use it, I smelled removal there. So I didn't use the Kessig Wolf Run because I want to cast multiple threats this turn that he cannot answer. Alright, so I check my mana first. I try Thalia off the Kessig Wolf Run and the white. He counterspells. Alright, that's the last thing your mana. But he can have Daze or Force here. Alright, there's Gaddock. It resolves. No more Force. Works for me. 3 mana. Can I have Marath? It works. Cool, I'll evolve. Thalia is no longer in play. I'll play Sword. How do you answer all of these things if you're my opponent? I think you have exactly Cyclonic Rift as your only answer. And even then, I get to redeploy so much of this, and you're tapped out. I don't think Cyclonic Rift answers this game for my opponent, just because I have the mana to replay my board and my Tangle Wire. So Cyclonic Rift here is absolutely terrible for him. Think about it. I would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 mana, 10 mana on my turn. That's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Evolving Gyre Sage twice, Gaddock, and Marath. And then I have a 4 counter Tangle Wire, a free Jeweled Amulet, and just a huge clock. I untap, I make a bunch of 1/1s to feed to the Tangle Wire, and then I slam Sword onto Teague, and you can't remove Teague because you're in mono blue. Seems good. My opponent decides it's been enough and scoops the game. Alright, so let me jump over to the deck list real quick before I forget collection. Alright, so this is what we're working with right now. So 36 lands, there you go. If you want to pause the video, take a look. The 3 fast rocks, Enlighten, Land Tax, Swords, Tithe, Wayfarer, a bunch of green dorks, Basilisk, Collar, Skullclamp, Stoneforge, Thalia are the Hate Bear package. I might want to put the Leonin Arbiter, but I do play a lot of fetches. Bloom Tender, Fauna Shaman, Gyre Sage, Lotus Cobra, Nightshade Peddler is Basilisk Collar number 2. Steve, Skoos, Caryatid seems to be pretty good. Teague is an all-star in this deck and very much worth the tickets. Mind Sensors, the Search Hate instead of the Arbiter because it's asymmetrical. Mentor is, I think the only deck that I would ever possibly consider Mentor in is probably Thalia or in Marath because it's basically a second Skull Clamp whenever you make a 1/1, and you don't even have to sacrifice the 1/1. Fiend Hunter and Palace Jailer are the removal suite. Linvala's there for the Elves matchup. Choke, Nissa, removal. You'll see a lot of the red splash is removal. Perforos is there just to close out a game incredibly quickly if I need to. Garrick is there because he goes up once, plays Marath, and then he goes down. Or he goes up the turn, Marath comes in, I minus as many counters off Marath as I can, and then he immediately overruns for a ton of damage. He is one of the better synergistic Planeswalkers with my commander. Green Sun and Cord. I found I really like Cord in this deck. Karmic Guide, even though I'm not playing the Karmic Guide Revelark loop, Karmic Guide's really good value in this deck, and also what I'm able to do is if I pot away Palace Jailer, so let's say he didn't attack and I don't have to block with Palace Jailer. I can pod Palace Jailer into Karmic Guide, replaying Palace and bring back Palace Jailer, and then remove his whatever it was, the Thought Adele. Or if he had replayed his commander and did nothing, I can pod Palace Jailer into Karmic Guide, bring back Palace Jailer, kill his commander again. It's one of the really cool interactions of this 4/5 that I really like with the pod in the deck. Flametongue Kavu's there just because it's really good value, and I don't think there's anything better in that slot right now. The current I'm also playing the Smuggler's Copter. One of my comments suggested I test it out because it lets me filter out cards that I don't need in matchups, like Aura Shards or Harmonic Sliver in the mono blue matchup, or Choke in a matchup against Nissa or something like that. So I'm testing it out a little bit. I like it so far. I've only played 2 or 3 games where I actually got it. Thorn of Amethyst and Thalia are amazing. Umezawa's Jite is a backbreaking, and it's the #1 anti-elf card in the entire deck, I think. Nullrod, I think, is the one card that I'm thinking of cutting. This is here for specifically the Breya matchup, and I don't even think it's that good in the matchup. I think this might be better as a Vandal Blast, but we'll see. Because Vandal Blast, it's a one-time effect, but the stuff is gone. Nullrod, I don't actually remove the things, so it's a tough call. Nate might be able to give me a better answer on whether Nullrod or Vandal Blast is the correct card. I already have the Aura Shards, which is probably the best card in that entire matchup, along with Harmonic Sliver, and the Rex Sage is in there as well. But I mean, if this card resolves against Breya and you can just play Marath once, you will most likely win the game, because Marath will give you so many naturalize effects for 1 mana. I don't think Breya comes back from it in any reasonable fashion. So definitely like the deck a lot so far. I've been tuning it a little bit. Hardened Scales is another card that I'm testing right now, because as one of my viewers pointed out to me, Marath says put X +1/+1 counters on target creature. X can't be 0. It doesn't say another target creature. It says target creature. So you can pay X, remove 1 counter from Marath, and put 2 counters on Marath. And so every 1 mana that you have, you can add an additional counter to Marath in that way when you have Hardened Scales in play. It's really testing. I haven't gotten in any games yet, so we'll have to see. I don't know if this is a correct slot either. This could be another ramp piece, another lock piece. It's a tough call right now. We'll have to see how it plays out, and I haven't gotten enough testing in. All right. I know that it's a longer video, but I wanted to give you guys this awesome series of games that I really enjoyed playing. I was on the edge of my seat for most of them. It's definitely one of the Boogeyman decks of the format. It's been neutered a little bit now that it has to play Portent and some of the worst filter cards, but I still think it's a very potent deck and a very scary deck if you do not have interaction before they untap with 3 mana. All right, I'll see you on the next one. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the content to anyone you think might enjoy my channel. And if you want to support me on Patreon, you'll find a link on the screen now. Other than that, let me know in the comments down below what you want to see next.